Alright, guys. Here we are again. Another video critique. This time we're going to be looking at Katie Daniels' work. So, yeah, once again, as always, we're going to be looking at her images as images, and then we're going to be looking at them a second time to see how they function in terms of the requirements of the assignment. So, without further ado, let's jump down here. So I have to say, a stack of the girliest movies imaginable. Can't quite tell, but if one of these is The Notebook, then yeah, that would probably be the yes. These movies are like guy kryptonite. So yeah, I kind of made me chuckle a little bit when I saw which movie she picked. They're even like two of them are even pink. So, in terms of how they work as images, I like them. I think this is nice. Good depth of field, and yeah, they're well placed within the frame. I like the way that they're offset rather than being like both square to the camera, as well as just being squared off, like very straight along the edges. I like this slight fanning of them. I think that's good. Focus is really tight. I like that. You have like sharp, sharp, sharp. And even this is probably like sharpest here and here. And it's still sharp, acceptably sharp here, and then it falls off real quick, like once you get around the top edge there. I'm just looking at the different ways that you have this set up here. So I'm gonna say that either the first one or this one, probably either the first one or the fourth one. I think that's the fourth one. Are the most successful just of this group. This is a little bit rough here because you're losing, like here you got enough of that edge in that you can really see it. Here you're losing it because of the glare, and this is just a little bit hot here. It's a little bit distracting because it's kind of pulling your eye away from sort of the text and other stuff, and you just want like the perfect exposure is always that you can have like some specular highlights like this, but you want you'd want it to be like a dot. Like you want to have enough detail in almost all of your highlights that there's something there. Like this is just a pure what we call a blocked up highlight. And that's just a term that comes from back when we used film negatives, because it'd be like a solid block basically. So yeah, your highlights are a little bit dense in that one. There's a couple other where they're a little bit hot there, which is why I think this is nice and this is nice, because you do get enough of that edge to sort of see that, and all your highlights still have a little bit of info in them again. So I liked that you were kind of working the scene here. Like a lot of times you'll see, especially with students who don't have a ton of shooting experiences, you just see like one. They'll see the setup, they'll kind of get where they like it, they'll shoot the shot, and they'll move on. But I like when people work the scene, because the truth is sometimes you shoot it and then you do the what do they call it, chimping or whatever, where you look at the little screen on the back, and it looks like everything's sharp. You can even zoom in somewhat, and like everything looks good until you get it on the computer and you're actually checking it out. It might not be. So yes, work the scene. You know, sometimes just by working it, you sort of resolve issues that come up. Like, if this has been our only shot, I mean, it would have, you know, this would have still been working, but then this would have, you know, been kind of an issue. So the fact that she has this, but also this, means that, you know, she shot enough to CYA, as we say, cover your backside. Keep it PG. So yeah, nice. I would say probably the first or the fourth are the best there. Nice use of depth of field here. And this is what's working well. This is nice. The text is good. Yeah, I feel like the reflection is a little bit distracting, like some of the glare in here. And that's something that can be tough. Depending on what your light source is. I mean, it's tough because if you close the windows that are making this glare, you're not going to get this beautiful light. Sometimes it's a matter of what? Maybe like a gobo, or you know, some sort of like a black thing in here, but then you're going to block some of your light source. It's tough. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit on this, because I don't know that it's enough of a distraction that I think it takes away from the image. No, I think it's good. I think it's good. But again, it would depend on what you're using it for. For this assignment, it's more than acceptable. It looks great. If this was an ad, you know, you might have an editor or, you know, someone that you're working with who says, you know, give me this with less glare. I don't know. Just kind of putting it out there. I think it's, you know, it's more than sufficient to do well on this assignment. This is nice. It's kind of like a weird snail thing. Let's see here. So, trying to think of what is the best. Probably one of these first ones. I think maybe this. Yeah, I like this. What I would say is, yeah, I think I like this slightly more than that. Just in terms of, well, maybe I take that back. Maybe I like this more. I'm looking at sort of the way that this angle, the angle that this thing is turned away from the camera, sort of what that does to the sort of lines in here. I think I maybe like this more, just because it's more of a, like it's not, yeah. I guess maybe just the way that this line sort of goes back into space and leads your eye into this, which then, you know, you sort of go into here. I think that's probably the one. And this is another case where I don't want you to feel like I'm picking on you, Katie. I feel like a bounce card or something, like even a piece of white foam core, like placed right here relative to the image, so that some of this light that's coming through can be bounced back up and sort of open this area up just a little bit. It's something. I mean, and the thing is, like, I couldn't say 100%. Well, that's what that needs because, for all I know, it would have created too much of like a specular highlight. Like, you're getting a little bit of speculars here. Like, it might be too much, but that's something like if you see this in the future and you're like, well, this looks a little bit dark or a little bit in shadow. Just look up bounce card, like place right here. Can bring some of that light back in to reflect into the image. And then the tree. Yes, I like it. Digging it here. Let me see. Get all of them here. I think that of these, the second to like maybe here or here, one of these two, second or third to last, they just have. I feel like they have. Yeah, it's like alternating here. Like each one, you have sort of a more deep depth of field and then shallower depth of field. And I think with this, especially shallower works. There's an old thing that that they used to say back in the day, which was that it can be hard to shoot against a background like this, with like a lot of sort of leaves and branches, just because it can be distracting. I think that with your shallow depth of field, you really kind of resolve that because it just doesn't. It's just not as much of an issue. You can even maybe go a little shallower, I think. Well, it's tough because you don't want to go too shallow because then you're like some areas of the tree itself are kind of they're starting to drop out of focus. But I like sort of there's something kind of appealing about the way that you frame this up. Like nice here. This is interesting to me. Sort of just the way that some of these lines are working together and they're sort of again, drawing your eye in from the edges, just sort of right into here. But yep, less depth of field. I think the ones with less depth of field are the more successful of this group. So overall, I would say overall, most and least successful. I would say. Probably one of these DVD ones that I pointed out before, the first or the fourth ones, are most successful. And least successful, I'm going to say this guy. Because again, we're getting, it's a little bit hot up in these highlights. But even this one isn't bad. I mean, good composition, like, looking at this in terms of, like, the rule of thirds. It's in the right spot within the frame. It's not, centered. But yeah, I just feel like here, kind of hot, a little bit flat on this part. Yeah, I would say that's probably the least successful. In terms of the requirements of the assignment, so everything looks, where it should look. You don't have like, there's really no blown exposures, and all your settings, the listed, settings that you put for each of these. They look correct. They seem to correspond with what I would expect to see from those settings. Like the image looks like it was shot under these settings. Yeah, everything looks about as it should. And I was reading what she wrote here earlier. And it looks about sort of how I would expect it to be. And just sort of talking about how these things relate to each other. So yeah, nice work, Katie. So for this video, now that you've watched all the way to the end, and it's that time once again, I want you to respond with the words pirate ship. Why pirate ship? Because just as with Leah's video, I looked on the floor, and apparently my kids have been playing in here, because there is a dinosaur and there is a pirate ship. So for this time, I want you to post pirate ship. And yeah, thanks for watching and listening to my my words.